everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Paula here. I feel like I've been uploading a lot in the past few days. One of my YouTube mutuals, I hope to call her a friend, honestly, she's so sweet. She is Emily from the Linguist Library. I found her channel quite a bit of time ago. I think when she just started uploading videos, she commented on one of my videos and I checked her out and I loved her channel, and she has a very similar taste to me when it comes to classics. Well, she's incredibly sweet, really, and she just created a tag called the Beauty in Books tag. She created along with Ruben from To Readers It May Concern, basically just talking about beautiful books, and she tagged me in it and I was so excited. I'm gonna be so completely honest, I watched her video, loved all the books she recommended. I remember really liking her comment on Mrs. Dalloway because, as you saw, I read it not long ago and I did a video on it, and I'm a little bit oblivious because I did not get a notification that she tagged me at all. And at the end of the video, she literally says, "I'm tagging Paula." My brain took it as, that's a different Paula, that's not me. No, it was me. I'm so sorry, Emily. I'm slightly oblivious, but I'm so glad that you let me know that it was in fact me who you were tagging. And I have my big pile of books that I would love to talk about that I think are beautiful. I feel like Emily from the Linguist Library focuses more on books written by poets. I don't read that many poets. There are a couple of poets in this list, but these are just books in general that I think are beautiful in one way or another. These are mostly classics. There's a little bit of literary here and one fantasy book that you'll see later, but I may have added a little bit of a twist in this tag. But yeah, let's get started because I am so excited to talk about these books. So the first prompt is Beauty in Concept, and I am so excited to represent here in this video with a Spanish author that I for sure know that Emily also loves, and that is La Sombra del Viento. I hope you like that it's here. This book in general is beautiful. I chose this book for this prompt because the concept is just so cool to me and it just gives me such fall nostalgic vibes. But this book follows, at the very beginning, a little boy whose father introduces him to this place called the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. And it's basically this secret library that is being cared for some mysterious people, where they have a copy of all of the books created that they think are gonna be forgotten in one way or another. So books that you cannot find anywhere else. And that concept, I think, is beautiful, to not let a book die, because letting a book be forgotten is the same thing as letting a book die. And I just thought that concept was beautiful. And that's not all of it. Like, this book follows that same child that was introduced to this secret mystery library. It's about him finding this cursed book and loving it so much and trying to find as much as he can from the author, but someone is literally burning all of these books, and the last copies available are in this library because they're trying to protect these books. And then we see how the life of this kid is so intertwined with the author of the book that he so loved, and it's just so beautiful. And at its heart, this is a love letter to Barcelona, and it's so beautiful. I would definitely recommend it. So I could not choose any other book than this one. Now the second prompt is Beauty in an Opening Line, and this is such a short book because it is so short. This is White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is so short, but look at my tabs. Let me read you the first line. "It was a wonderful night, the kind of night, dear reader, which is only possible when we are young." This book, people call it the best love story ever. I don't know if I'll go that far, but this book follows a young man, a dreamer, if you will, and how he falls in love in 3 nights. And it's very much an unrequited love. And it's just so beautiful. One of the things that I definitely liked about this book so much was the talks about love and dreaming. And there's one thing that I will always love in a book, and that is when an author gives a city or a house or buildings personalities. Just like human traits, I love that so much, and this book definitely does it. Also, the title of this book that I think is so cute is White Nights, and then a sentimental love story from the memoirs of a dreamer. It is such a tiny short book. I read it in an evening and I loved it so much. I underlined so much. It's definitely one of my favorite classics. The next prompt is beauty in characters. And I honestly don't think I've ever read a book whose characters have felt so real and who have hurt me, honestly, as much as in this book. And that is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. Now, I'm pretty sure this is one of the fewest literary books in this list, in this pile, but it's so deserved. The characters in this book just felt so real to me. I don't think I've ever identified to a character more than I've identified with Elena here. This follows Elena growing up in an Italian town in kind of the poor side, and as the title says, it mostly follows her friendship with this one girl, Lila, and their friendship, I don't think I've ever seen a better representation of girlhood and girl friendships as in this book. It made me feel things that I definitely did not want to feel because it took me back to high school. I feel like the character of Elena here completely encompassed everything that I was feeling in high school when I was so lost. I was mostly sad. I was so insecure about myself and about my friendships, and I was always jealous of my friends or thinking that they had it always better than me. So reading this, it definitely took me back, and it's such a realistic portrayal of those feelings. I would definitely recommend this book. It is beautiful and it is very easy to read. Now, this prompt was probably the hardest for me, so that's why I have two books for this prompt. This prompt is Beauty Amidst Pain. I feel like I don't usually like to read about pain. It's just, I don't know, it's not something that I lean towards, but I do have two books here. And I took this interpretation in kind of different ways. The first one is in a more visual way. So, Beauty Amongst Pain, I Bring You Yerba by gendry-kim. Now, this book is pain. It's just pain. It's straight up pain. I cried so much reading this book. It broke my heart in a million pieces, and I don't think it's ever gotten fixed. It's a book that causes such horrible things. Truly, I don't think you could ever imagine this. This is a biography. That makes it even worse. It's a non-fiction. This is a biography. This happened to a real person. This is the biography of Eok-sun. She was a comfort lady during the Japanese invasion in Korea. Comfort ladies were basically women that had to entertain Japanese military against their will, basically. It's such a horrible story to see how this woman grew up, like from her childhood up until the years before she passed. She went through so much. I feel like in every video that I talk about this book, I always talk about this one sentence because it broke me. She said that she couldn't even remember a moment in her life where she was happy, and that hit me like a million trucks. Like, I don't remember crying as much as when I read this. And I do say that it's beautiful because this is a graphic novel, and I think it was such an interesting way to see such horrible, such intense topics talked about in such a visual way, but it was just so beautiful. I definitely recommend. This is definitely more into the visual side of beauty, so that's why I have another option for this prompt, and that is this big boy here. It is a big one. It is a chunk. This is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. But when we talk about beauty in pain, this book was one of my first thoughts. And I'm taking, again, beauty here very deliberately. This is about this young man called Dantes. At the beginning of the story, he has everything that he could ever dream of. He is about to be captain in his ship. He is gonna start earning more money for himself and for his father. And he is engaged. He's about to be married to the love of his life. Everything is going amazing for this man, right? Well, jealous and very cruel people decide that that is going against their interest. So they basically wrongly accuse him of a crime, and he is never tried or anything, so he ends up in jail, in prison for, I'm pretty sure, like 19 years. So this book is definitely about pain. It's about revenge. This man lost everything that he held dear. He almost lost himself during those years in prison, and when he came out, nothing was better. His fiancée got betrothed to one of the persons that threw him in jail. His father passed away. The people that hated him ended up in power. So I believe this fits this prompt because it's not only beautiful in how it's written, because to be fair, it is very concise, very easy to understand, but it's still very pretty in its prose. But do you know how satisfying it is to follow each tiny little subplot, and then in the end it reveals to a big like spider web of vengeance, where every single thing gets resolved and everything ends perfectly how it was supposed to be. That was beautiful. I think that is the beauty of this book. And don't get me wrong, this whole book is a chunk, and while a lot of parts are gonna go so slowly, you're gonna go at the end and you're gonna feel like all of the plot lines were worth it just to see everything end up in such a satisfying way. Now let's go to also one prompt that was very difficult for me, and that is Beauty in Incompleteness. And I again took my liberties with it. So I have two books. One of them is more contemporary than the other. The first one is Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke. Again, this is a very short book. I think it's under 100 pages actually. And I love this book. I do have a lot of annotations even though I didn't have it. Why do I call this book kind of incomplete? Mostly because this is a very tiny glimpse on Rilke's like life and thoughts and opinions. It's very incomplete in its just, you know, there's sporadic letters here and there towards someone. So we don't get much of his life, his background, his history, his opinions, everything. But we do get a glimpse, and it's just beautiful. His thoughts in regards to love and regards to art, it is very beautiful in its prose too. And I don't know, I feel like you can always find something in here that will resonate with you and you will love. Or like, for example, like this sentence is just, here I feel that no human being anywhere can respond to these questions and feelings that have a profound life of their own. For even the best of us get the words wrong when we want them to express such intangible and almost unsayable things. Beautiful. And then another one that I have, this is probably, I want to say this is my most modern book. This is In the Dream House by Carmen Machado, which is also a non-fiction. These are little essays kind of on the author's experience in a queer abusive relationship. And again, beauty in its incompleteness. This book, she doesn't tell you what went wrong with her relationship. She doesn't like explicitly tell you her experience in such a horrible situation, but she has these little essays in which everything is very experimental, and the way she describes things is such an interesting take on them. And I personally really like them because they're like mini essays, mini stories in a whole book. And again, its incompleteness comes from her lack of outright saying things to you. So like some of her little stories are Dream House as a romance novel, Dream House as deja vu, Dream House as man versus nature. They're just tiny convoluted fragments of what that experience was to her, and I would definitely recommend it. Beauty in Place. I feel like a lot of books could have come with this, but the one I chose is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel García Márquez. It's hard to find such a magical place in literature as Macondo. And there, I said it. Although I have a love-hate relationship with Gabriel García Márquez, I do have to admit how beautiful his portrayal of this land was. This land feels so real. There's nothing about Macondo that doesn't tell me that it's real. It's real and it's magical. And you don't question why it's magical, and you don't even question if it's real. You just know it's real, and it's so beautiful. And I loved how the town grows and falls apart and gets back together and gets forgotten with the characters. It's such a beautiful take on it. And again, I think I mentioned it earlier, I love it when towns, cities, buildings, they have personality traits or they feel alive. And Macondo very much felt alive. There's one specific scene in which one of our characters passes away, and the way it's described, it feels as even the town is grieving and it's saying goodbye to such a beloved character. And it was so beautiful. I would read it to you, but this is actually in Spanish, so if you don't speak Spanish, it'll be kind of a shame, but I'm gonna try and see if I can find that specific excerpt and put it here because I thought it was beautiful. And yeah, so this would be Beauty in Place. The next prompt is Beauty in Time, and for Beauty in Time I chose Eva Luna by Isabel Allende. This book is probably one of my favorite classics. I think it can be considered a classic, but don't take my word on that. Look at that. I loved it so much. I loved its concept. There's so many things beautiful in this book. So I generally could have put it in any other prompt. I feel like this book took me in time, basically. We follow Eva Luna, and Eva Luna is just a beautiful child that ends up being a beautiful woman. And she has this passion, this love for storytelling. So the core of this book is basically the art of storytelling, how basically that helps her go through the horrible times that they're living. It generally feels so contemporary, but you also feel the time that this takes place in. So it's a very weird combination right there, but it reads beautifully and you will definitely be immersed in it, and time will pass and you will not know because you will be so enthralled in this story. So yeah, beauty in time. Technically our last prompt is beauty in catharsis, and I will say one of the few poets that I've actually ever read. This is Mary Oliver's Devotions. Now this is very loved too. This book this book is generally so loved by me. I read this last year and it just felt right to read. I've never been a very religious person. I've never been one with nature. That's just never been me, unfortunately. But this book made me feel like I just didn't realize it. Again, I'm not religious, but this book made me feel, it was like a spiritual awakening, I guess. It was so beautiful to see how not only nature and animals were described as beautiful, as magical, as kind of holy in a way, but also how her version of God is a version of God that I can get with. There is a lot that I could say about the institution of religion, but this specific God, the benevolent God, the one that loves you, the one that loves all animals, all creatures, all life, it just felt so beautiful and kind of was sort of cathartic for me to read this. So not only if you like poetry, but also if you're not sure that you even get poetry, I would definitely recommend you to try it, because I thought I was not really a poetry girly because I didn't understand it. But reading this book, I realized I could be a poetry girly. So yeah. And now, because I am extra a little bit, no, but those were all of the prompts, but I may have added one of my own, because there's this one book that I feel like it generally could have fit every single one of the prompts in this list. It's probably one of my favorite books, and I want to recommend it because it's not a classic, it's not literary, it's a genre book, and I feel like people tend to think that genre books cannot be as well regarded as classics or literary fiction. So I do need to share it, and again, it's beautiful, it's one of my favorite books, and I created my own prompt for this. So my prompt for this is beauty in the senses. What does it mean? This means that I enjoyed this book with my 5 senses. I was so immersed in this book. I could visualize it, I could hear it, I could even smell it. I was so immersed in this book, and I feel like that experience in itself was beautiful, but also the prose of this book is beautiful. And honestly, it kind of relies on that. It relies on the book being beautiful to read, because there's no sense of urgency, or there's not a big plot in it. It's very cozy, very slow. People can say it's boring. It wasn't for me because I was enjoying the writing so much. And that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. When I tell you it was a delight for the senses, I could hear the circus. I could smell, like whenever they were talking about food, like caramelized apples or popcorn, like I could smell it. The way everything was described, it was so beautiful. And the concept of it is beautiful. Is about these 2 magicians that were raised to compete against each other, but they end up falling in love. Just read it. If you're not a big fan of, let's say, fantasy or contemporary works, I feel like this one will at some point be a classic because of how beautiful it is. And I would definitely recommend it for its prose specifically, because again, if you're looking for a thrilling adventure, this is not it. But if you are wanting to read something that feels beautiful, that reads beautiful, that you can immerse yourself and be there, read it. I love it so much. But yeah, these are all of the books that in my opinion are beautiful, and they're definitely loved by me. If you stayed until the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please like, comment. I would love to know your opinions on all of these books and whether you agree with me on, how beautiful they are. If you like these type of videos in which someone just japs and japs and japs a lot about books. That's definitely me, so please subscribe, that will definitely make my day. But yeah, thank you so much to the Linguist Library for tagging me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you watched it and, you know, like the videos that I put in this tag. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!